Okay, I think we're rolling. Just warm up here a bit. Alright, let's see what I got today. What am I gonna do? Let's see. Lots of muy interesante cosas. Alright. Cosas muy interesante. You have to say it the other way around. I said it backwards. That's not how it goes. Okay, I'm gonna say then, I'm thinking, maybe I can pull this over here a little bit. Probably should have done this first. I'm gonna optimize my screen sizes. Oh, now I had that perfect, and I moved it. Okay. Okay, so I'm thinking this time, maybe just to switch things up, I will go back to my Spanish groove, which is just like a normal progression in the key of G, except it's got like a major, they sharp the major in there. But I'm thinking to transpose it this time to E, which would be E minor. Why E minor? So the progression I'm thinking of just playing with today, because I was kind of interested in just thinking about it, was here. Like that's how I play it, like straight back. That would be an A minor shape. And then if I just pull that same shape back and fit it, you get a G shape, which looks like this, and the collection of notes around the key of C. The root is the middle note, so it's going to be that Mixolydian, the 5. That's the root, and then that would be a G there. And then if I pull it back to here, I wonder if I can grab all of those at the same time and like move them like at the same time. I don't know. I'd have to hold down shift. That doesn't work. So then I have that, which would be an F, and then I have this, which would be an E, but then we have this one here that throws it in, instead of a minor, throws it into a major. So that's going to be the normal progression, which is kind of interesting because then, for a couple reasons, I find that progression interesting, which is common in other progressions too, but you know, so it's like, it's interesting because it's kind of like it's in A minor, but then it ends on something that's out of the key a bit because it's a major, which normally, again, I would normally think that that note flows it back into the relative minor, which in this right there would be that A right there, right? So the Mixolydian. So that's why it kind of. So So you would think it would be ending there, right? You would think it'd be like maybe you have A minor, and then you add the major third, so that you can end back to the minor, because that's the fifth of the the major. I mean, right? The E is the fifth of the A or something, right? So you'd have that lead-in tone. That's all I care about. Well, that's what I'm thinking. So, but then I'm thinking, okay, so that's cool, but then it almost seems like you don't really do that, which is another kind of weird thing here, because it seems like you almost want to hang out on the tension, like it almost ends right there, and then you just sit there and strum it like crazy, and then you could go into, and then instead of going back to A, you might just stay in Mixolydian, which is weird, because now you've made Mixolydian, like what we did here is we made Mixolydian a major, but then I'm going to go back and make it I'm sorry, not the Mixolydian, it's a Phrygian. This node right here, the E is a Phrygian, but now I made it basically a major instead of a minor third. But then I want to go back and play with it on the Spanish thing as though it's back to a Phrygian, because I'm going to do that half step thing. Which can play it down here. So that would be on a Phrygian thing, not on a major thing. But then when I hit the chord at the end of this progression, it's a major because I have a major third. So if I start thinking, okay, what can I do with that? Like, how can I kind of mix that up? It's like, okay, well, I could mix back and forth from going from a minor modal center. If I think about this from a modal center and a collection of notes standpoint, right? I could say, okay, well, it's a collection of notes around the key of A minor. It's a minor collection of notes. But then I'm going to switch it here. Maybe I switch it here instead of going back to minor. Like I say, we go to Phrygian. That's common. That's the thing that seems to happen a lot. Taking advantage of that half step in the box. Right? But then adding the major third when I'm back off the box. Or, like I could think, well, maybe I try to take it seriously as though it's the major, right? Maybe I take it serious as though this is the major because it has a major third. And then I go, well, what if I took that serious? Like I could start playing, like maybe I say, well, now that third, maybe I don't say it's a major third, maybe I say it's a Mixolydian third, because I would still have, notice over here, I still have the 7, which would be a 10 note away 7, because that node is a minor node. So you would think I'd be building a minor chord off it. And if I added the 7, it would have a minor 7 off of it. But now I'm going to make it a major third. But if I keep the minor 7, it's kind of like I'm in Mixolydian now, right? So you don't hear that as much in the Spanish, but you could do that. Like you could put the minor and give it that bluesy minor 7 in there. So now it's like, okay. So then maybe I switch to thinking of it as though that's a Mixolydian, which I could just think about the same collection of notes, but I sharp the third, and then I just put in the same minor 7, or I think of it as the E Mixolydian, which would be over here, separate collection of notes, but now the nodal point 5 is our center point, right? So now when I get back to here, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to noodle around as though I'm in Mixolydian, right? But it might be easier, so I can analyze it either way, which I kind of want to do just to practice my fretboard. But I can think of it over here from a modal standpoint that I'm just going to think of it as Phrygian, but I'm going to put a major, I'm going to do the bluesy thing for the third on that E, bringing it up, and then I'm going to keep then the minor 7. So if I'm like noodling around then in the E, so then maybe I do the Spanishy thing. I'm on this box up here, right? Now that's the same box as this box, and now I'm doing the Spanishy thing. But then maybe I add the 7, which is right behind the 3, and I play with that more because that's more of a blues. That's more of the minor blues. So I'm going to say here's the major third, which is right here. And here's the minor second, right, which is weird because that's Phrygian-ish. And then here's the minor. That's the minor, and this is the minor 7th, right? So now so I can kind of try to. That just might give me some ideas with it to kind of mix around the Spanishy groove with like more of a bluesy kind of vibe, because I'm kind of in between modes of major and minor, or more specifically Phrygian with a minor second and a minor 7, and kind of like what I would think Mixolydian, which has a minor third. So this one would kind of like, a major third. So this would kind of like be in the middle of the third right there, right? So I can go back and forth like we do with the blues. So again, you could say, well, that doesn't work. That doesn't sound right. Okay. I'm just playing with it. I can play with whatever I'm just saying that if I look at it from a modal perspective, it might give us some idea. I could blend things together in a way I probably wouldn't think of that might be interesting, because it seems like that's where the whole bluesy thing came from. They mixed together modes in weird ways, So I kind of feel like that would be a way to explore it. And then I'm thinking, well, I can do that progression up here just to make it a little even more crazy. Instead of going down the middle, what if I did the E minor progression like you would think it would be an E minor, meaning I just move the whole thing up to here, and that should just transpose it so that now I'm making the progression with the center point being the E. Right, so now I have these 3 notes. So now the center point is that E, which is the Phrygian node. If I'm looking at this collection of notes, And then when I go back, notice when I go back here, this one is now in the Dorian, which is a Dorian chord, which should be a D. If I did that down here, the three notes would be these three notes, which would have a major third. So that one's a little bit different. So I could alter it and say, well, what if I could keep it at minor, or maybe I alter it and make it a major from there and see what happens, right? And then when I go back to this one, if I do the same progression going back, then this one would be the same shape that I had down here, which was down here, the 1, 4, 6 from nodal points. Now it's nodal point 5, 1, 3. Same shape, but now it's a C or Ionian chord. And then the funny thing is that when I move it back to the last bit, before it was like right here and here, and then I added, and then you have to add the one that's outside the collection because the one over here would be over here. But we're messed up over here because that's the 7. So now I don't have the 5 above it. So I could include the 5 because that's the diminished chord. Or I could just not play the 5, or I can move it up here, and then I have the same thing of moving the 7 up. So I'm thinking of analyzing that, and also thinking, well, what if I was in the E minor? If I thought about it in E minor, then I could say, okay, well then it should fit, right? If I change the collection of notes to the collection of notes around A major, that's the E Mixolydian. E minor would be, do I have E minor? It's over here. The collection of notes around G, which would have an E minor, right? So now if I change the collection of notes to think of myself in E minor, now the center point would be the 6, which is which is the Aeolian. And that should fit. Now that pattern should be the same as this pattern in the middle, right? So if I go over here, so now I have, that would be the minor, and then I go back here to D, but now D is the Mixolydian, which is a major. So that now it's on the major. That would be equivalent to the G that we saw below it when I was going from A back to G. It's still minor to major. And then I go back to the this triad, which is off of this node, which is the Lydian, which is also a major, which if it was down here would have gone to an F, right? And then if I go back again, then I have a minor Mixolydian node, or B. Now it's a minor B, but I can then move that up. So in other words, if I saw this progression down here, and I just move that across, because there's no kink in the tuning above it, you would think I could just move the whole thing up here and just follow this string in the same pattern. And that would be the same pattern in the collection of notes around the key of E, right? It's a little heavier sounding because it's on the low strings up top. A little kind of heavy register, but maybe you could palm mute it, make it. So that should sound, it sounds basically the same, but it's way lower in pitch, right? But it's got the same thing. It's got the Stray Cats vibe. Walking down the alley with my tail in the air. I don't know how the lyrics go, but it goes something like that. And I was eating out of a trash can for some reason, and I didn't care. And then like some dude threw a shoe at me and hit me in the face. But I was like, whatever, man. I just walk with my tail in the air. And then something, right? It goes something like, same kind of thing. Well, and here's it is in this one, right? If I was in the middle, I was walking down the alley with my tail in the air. Some dude threw something at me, but I don't care what that dude thinks, dude. And I was having, I don't know. So strut right by with my tail in the air. See, I don't know how the lyrics go, but you get it. Like it's like the same. It's a Stray Cat song. It's the Stray Cat song, Alley Cat, or something. Okay, so let's go back. so I'm thinking I'll analyze each of those notes from both of these perspectives. So, because I might want to think, look, I know this collection of notes better, so maybe I want to alter this collection of notes in around the collection of notes around the key of C, just altering the Phrygian note. And if I do that, then I might be able to noodle around in the same collection of notes, which will make me noodle differently. Or I can say, well, let me change the collection of notes so that I'm in the pattern that works here, which would be the same exact progression key change here, so that I don't have to, so I do the same exact alteration, which is just that one note. So that's what I'm thinking to noodle around with if I have time after the joke. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow, continuing tomorrow. I don't know. So I'm gonna do my joke. I have to stop with the. I'm taking a break from the conspiracy theory stuff today because it's starting to piss me off. I have to keep distance. I'm detoxing. Maybe I'll do it again tomorrow or something, but I'm detoxing. I'm detoxing right now. So I just did some stupid joke. Let's see what I have. All right. I was watching one of the AI things lets you be able to actually, I mean, it was crazy. You can upload the whole script and it would basically do it for you as it goes. Anyway, I don't know. This is just a random joke. No, it's not even political, I don't think. Maybe I made it political somehow. But it's hard not to make something political these days. But I don't think it is, really. So, you know, my kung fu skills have become so honed down through practice that I can pull off a spinning roundhouse kick with my left foot and flip off the light switch with a delicate little tap from my pinky toe. That's how much skills I've got. I know, it's a bit of a show off. It's a bit of a show off maneuver because it's like a super roundhouse kick where I turn the light switch off. Okay. I mean, literally, it's a show off move. But the problem is I can't do a similar show on move. Right? You would like to say, well, look, I could do the same. Can you do the same thing, roundhouse, and flip the light back on? It's like, not really, because that requires executing most of the move in complete darkness. That's the level of complexity goes up greatly at that point. That's a super advanced skill if you want to, if you want to do a show on maneuver is more hard than the show off. A show-off maneuver is actually easier than the show-on maneuver. So at that point, you may as well be blindfolded. That's straight up like Daredevil. That's like Daredevil move, right? And he's like super advanced, Batman could probably do it too, though. Batman could probably do it in the dark, a show-on maneuver, but he doesn't like turning the lights on. Neither of them like turning the lights on. See, the problem is if you get that good in the dark, then you start not even wanting to turn the light on, so you wouldn't even do it, I guess. But anyways, but that doesn't mean he's invincible. Batman's still not invincible. All of Batman's tools are right there on his utility belt, which means his most vulnerable moment has to be when he's in the Batcave taking a guano, He's like, dude, leave me alone just for a second. I'm trying to take a guano over here, Okay. That was a highly talented joke. I know. Highly advanced and in its structure and execution. All right, let's see. I wrote a song about it. I've never heard it before. I just put it in the Suno. Let's see what Suno's got. See if they copyright me on Batman. I hear they're going to let everybody use all the characters in AI because there's a race to have everybody be able to use the characters. But because chat still kind of blocks me, but then Gemini was like, I don't care. I'll make a Batman. Anyway, let's see what we got.
I've been training way too long in this apartment dojo. muscle memory on autopilot, moving like a ghost, yo. Left foot spins, roundhouse kisses, drywall slow. Pinky toe taps the switch and suddenly no show. Yeah, I know I'm flexing just a bit, but when the lights go out like that, you gotta admit, it's a show off. Yeah, the show's off. Kill the lights with a kick like a martial arts boss. I didn't mean to brag, I just turned it all off. That's a show off. Yeah, the show's off. Here's the catch though, here's the flaw in my design. I can't flip it back on without tempting fate and time. Cause the second move happens blind, that's a whole new skill. That ain't flashy, that ain't flair, that's faith, prayer, and spatial awareness. It's a show off, yeah, the show's off, but the show on move, man, that cause you fighting furniture, shadows, and God. That's a show off, yeah, the show's off. It's a show off, yeah, the show's off, but the show on move, man, that cause you fighting furniture, shadows, and God. That's a show off, yeah, the show's off. Daredevil territory, blindfold energy, radar senses, couch attacks unexpectedly. Batman could probably do his show okay, but don't pretend a man safe every hour of the day. All the gadgets on the belt perfectly aligned, but even legends got a weak point if you think about time. Cause the back cave's dark and the belt comes off, and his most vulnerable moment is taking a grind. Oh, yeah, yeah, the show off. Yeah, the show's off. Yeah, the show's off. That's the show off. Yeah, the show's off.
All right, get a little bit. That was kind of like, I guess, more of a modern groove. It's got some bass to it, got some rhythm, I guess. All right, Suno. Suno's got skills. Suno's showing off its skills. People get all upset. People get all upset at it. It's like, that's AI slop. I don't know. I don't know. People just jealous. People a little jealous over here. I feel like Suno's got skills, man. All right. Anyways. Let's see. People just get pissed off. People get pissed off, you know. When I get pissed off, I like to piss off something else. Usually the bathroom rug into the can. Why? Because it makes me feel better. Feels like a weight off my shoulders. Feels like a weight off my shoulders, you know? Okay. All right, so let's see. We're going to say, let's walk this one back. Black and red, orange cat sitting on a fence. Ain't got enough dough to pay the rent. Blah, 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 done it and I don't care, cause I just strut around with my tail in the air. So this is an E minor, so I'm thinking E minor start at the same spot. If I was to analyze that from the perspective of the collection of notes around the key of C, I'm thinking we're in the Phrygian mode for the most part. Phrygian mode, bam. And then I'm going to say, where's the third of that? Well, the third of that is going to be 2 modal half steps up, because it's going to be 3, 4, 5. So I'm looking for nodal point number 5, which is going to be a G over here. The third away from a Phrygian node, which is a minor node, should have a distance of a 3 note away minor third, which we could check by going 5 notes between the string, 4, 3. 3 notes away, MUI B to the N. What about the 5? What about the 5? The 5th? Well, the 5th is 5 minus 1, or 4 modal half steps up. And so if I'm on the 3 plus 4, that gives me 7, nodal point number 7. The 4th modal half step, which is the 5th scale degree, has a distance of 7 notes away if it was a clockwise distance, but I'm going above it this time, counterclockwise. So it's going to be 12 minus 7, which would be 5. And there's 5 notes between the strings, so that looks like it fits. MUI B to the N, baby. B in. All right, so let's say we go to, what if I did it from this perspective? So it's an Aeolian. So now I'm going to say, now I'm in the collection of notes around the key of G, and I'm looking for the related minor. So if I was in the collection of notes around the key of G, and I'm like, okay, where's the related minor? G is the Ionian on the top string. So back to A. Whoops, wait, G is the Aeolian. Back to A. Back to the 6, or Aeolian, which is E. So E is now the minor. So E is the minor in this collection of notes. I have a minor E right there, node number 6. So now we're looking at the same collection of notes, but instead of it being Phrygian, the root is the Mixolydian. And then, so now it's a minor chord still. So what about the third of, it's an Aeolian. What is the third of an Aeolian? Well, it's going to be 3 minus 1 is 2 modal half steps up. So it's going to be 2 modal half steps up from 6, 6, 7. There's no 8, so we go around to 1, 7, 1, 6, 7, 1. So that's going to be right here. That should be, once again, 3 notes away, because it's a minor second modal half step, 3rd scale degree, because it's coming from a minor node, the Aeolian. And so I can check that out by saying it's 5 notes between the string, 5, 4, 3. What about the third? What about the 5th of an Aeolian? 5 minus 1 is 4 modal half steps from the 6, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be 4 steps up, going around the horn, because there's only 7 modal points. That gets me to the 3, which is the Phrygian. So there we have it, Phrygian, and it should be, once again, 7 notes away, which would be counterclockwise -5. 12 minus 7 is 5, and there's 5 notes between the strings. So I get the same. It would either be an A, here it would be an E minor, or I would call it an E Aeolian. And over here, in this collection of notes, I get the same collection, but my root is Phrygian. So that would be an E, that would be an E Phrygian. So whichever way you want to say it, right? So see how it would be nice when I'm naming something to be able to explain to someone, yeah, it's the same 3 notes, but if I'm thinking of it as a Phrygian, I would like to express that, rather than if I'm thinking of it as an E minor. And you might say, well, no, you shouldn't be able to express that, because it's the same 3 notes, and we want one name for 3 notes. We don't want you to call it 2 different things. But again, from a playing standpoint, if I'm trying to tell you what I'm thinking, wouldn't it be kind of nice? Like if I say, well, no, I'm thinking of it as a Aeolian triad here, E, and with the E is the, and over here I'm thinking it as a Phrygian triad, because that tells you where I am on the shape. You see what I'm saying? I think people know what I'm talking about, and they pretend like they don't. They're like, oh no, I don't know what you're talking. Yes, you do. Don't give me that crap, okay? Because it makes perfect sense. Gaslighting. They want to light my guano on fire with the gaslighting. I'm sick of it. Guano's less combustible. I'm like Batman. They're going to try to gaslight me, but guano's less combustible. So I'm like safer. That's why bats don't blow up in the cave when there's a lightning storm. because guano's less combustible, so you can't be gaslighting me. That's what I'm talking about. I want to. All right. Anyways, so let's say, now we're to. If I go this way, it would be the D. So let's say now I'm going to go back here. Now I could, like, the normal way is to say, and then a major. What if I just kept it the minor, because the minor's in the key, right? So you still get kind of the groove, right? Because the groove is in, like, the strumming, really, if you're doing the stray cat thing. You can add the one there. That's where it really counts. Or verses. So obviously, if you listen to if you're someone that's trying to mimic the sound, you're gonna say, well, that second one is that's it, man. But again, you don't really need to mimic the sound. I'm trying to just say what would be cool if I'm trying to, like, noodle around on my own. It's cool to mimic the sound, and I would like to be sounding exactly like a stray cat that doesn't care about nothing, man. I don't care about nothing, because I've running down the street with my tail. Oh God. Let's see. So what was I on this one? So that means, so if I'm on the Dorian and I'm playing a triad, Dorian triad, where's the third? The third is three up, so it's 2 modal half steps, 2, 3, 4. So I'm looking for a Lydian. There's a Lydian. How far away is the Lydian? The Lydian from a Dorian node, because it's a minor node, because it's a Dorian, which is a 2. So, right, the 2, 3, 6 minor nodal points. I don't need to change them just because I'm building a chord on the Dorian. That's still a 2. It's a minor nodal point. And so how far away is the second modal half step, 2 modal half steps up, which you could call the third scale degree if you want to do the stupid naming convention instead of a distance term. That would be 3 notes away because it's a minor distance. So there's going to be 5 between the string, 4, 3. That's the one that I could bring up here, because if I was in the other collection, if I was in a minor collection, that would be pushed up a bit, right? That would be, so I could say, I could play with that one and say, do I want to make it minor or major? And then the fifth, from the fifth, 5 minus 1 is 4 modal half steps up from nodal point 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, nodal point 6. That should be, once again, 7 notes away, but that would be the clockwise distance. I'm going counterclockwise or in the negative direction because it's going lower in pitch. 12 minus 7 is 5, 5 notes between the string, so that would be the fifth. All right, so that's where that is, ba-boom or ba-boom. Which way do I want to do it? Maybe I can do both of them. Going to be a problem back there too, but I'll get to that in a second. Now if I looked at it this way, then it would fit under the normal progression, because now I'm like, okay, now I'm A, and the Aeolian is my normal, and then I'm going back to the Mixolydian. It's a major nodal point. So if I do this collection of notes around the key of G, G would be Ionian. That means E would be position 1, would be right here, open position. E would be the Aeolian, so I'm playing an Aeolian progression, same progression, but I'm thinking Aeolian progression. Now I'm on the Mixolydian node of my Aeolian progression and the collection of notes around the key of G, right? But the A is the tonic, or the Mixolydian, or the Aeolian is the tonic, right? But I'm on the 5 node with the Aeolian as the tonic, with the Mixolydian now. So Mixolydian has, what's the third of the Mixolydian? 3 minus 1 is 2, 5, 6, 7. 2 modal half steps up is right there, but now it's shifted in a bit. So it's shifted in because now it's only 4 notes away, because it's 4 notes away because it's off of a major node. So the second modal half step, third scale degree, it's the first modal whole step, second modal half step, third scale degree, has a distance from a major node of 3 notes away, or 4 notes away by definition. So it's 5 notes between the string, and then 4 back to here instead of going back to here. And then what about the one above? What about the fifth? 5 would have a distance of 4 modal whole steps. So we're going to say 5 plus 4, 5, 6, 7, and then around the horn 1, 2. So we're looking for a Dorian right on top. Should be 7 notes away because the fourth modal half step. So this would be, by the way, the second modal whole step, which is 2 times 2, fourth modal half step, plus 1 would be the 5th scale degree. It has a distance in half steps on either major or minor nodal points, unless you're going from the crazy Locrian, which we will see if we ever get there because it's kind of going slow, has a distance of 7. But I'm going above it, so once again it's 12 minus 7, so it'd be 5. There's negative 5 between the strings going in that direction. So again, this node could either be under the other collection of notes, it would be minor, whereas over here, major. So when I get to that D, way you look at it, by the way, it's got a minor 7 because there's a minor 7 from both the Locrian and the Dorian, whichever way you want to look at it. So if I want to get fancy, more bluesy vibe on it. B to the N. Let's say we go back to the next one. So that would bringing it back to here. So once again, I'm back to the collection of notes around the key of C, which has position 1 here, back to A minor here, but I'm playing off of the Locrian. So 6, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. That's my root. My tonic is not the 1. I'm sorry, I'm playing off the Phrygian. It's not the 1 of the Phrygian. No, it's just the Phrygian, which is a 3. Because renumbering is stupid. For dumb. That's for dunces. Can you say dunces on the internet, or is that like banned? I don't know. Is that one of the words that keeps getting me making my videos that they don't do anything because I said something again? I can dunces. That's for dunces, dude. That's for dunces. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna say this is. All right. So now it's a C. So if I'm on a C, then what's the third of an Ionian? A number 1, nodal point 1. 3. It's 3. A third minus 1 is 2 modal half steps up. So that means 1, 2, 3. I'm looking for nodal point numero 3, number 3. So there it is. How far away should that be? Well, now I'm going from an Ionian, nodal point 1 Ionian, which is a major first modal half step, second scale G degree, first modal whole step, second modal half step, third scale degree, which has a distance of 4. So that's going to be 5 notes between the strings and then 4. What about the fifth of the Ionian, number 1? 5 minus 1 would be 4 modal half steps up from 1. So 4 plus 1 is 5. So that's going to give me nodal point number 5, which is the Mixolydian, which once again is 7 notes away, but that would be in the clockwise direction. We're going counterclockwise, so it's going to be 12 minus 5. So 12 minus 7, which would be 5 notes between the strings. And so that's good. And then notice the 7 in this collection of notes would be a major 7, which is kind of interesting, right? It'd be a major 7. So it's because we're off the Ionian node. So if let's just count that. If it was 1, 7 is the one what is the one behind the node that we're on. So I could just say, instead of going 1 plus 6, or I can say 1 minus 1, which makes you to 0, or around the horn 2, 7, which is up here, which is 11 notes away, because there's 5 notes between a string, 5, 10, 11. Why is that weird? Because if we're doing like a more of a bluesy sound, the major 7 may not be exactly what we want, right? So because if I was down here, we changed this to sharp the 3rd and a minor 7. So you would think when I go back here, you kind of want another minor 7, right? If I add the 7 here, which you might not do, you might not add the 7. You don't have to. But if I add the 7 in the key, it would be a major 7. So it's kind of a different feel. It's going to be even more kind of wonky maybe, because you don't normally have the major and the 1 and the 7 in a major chord at the same time, because you're usually using the 7 to lead back to the 1 in classical music. So it's kind of tensiony to have them both in the same chord. So, but you could do it if you want to be tensiony, because that's what we do sometimes in the blues. When you're trying to be a stray cat, tension, I ain't afraid no tension. When I'm going down the alley, people throwing shoes at me and stuff while I have my tail in the air. So I'm like, whatever, I do tension. A little bit more feel, but it kind of works, you know? Kind of works, I feel like. It doesn't work. What's wrong with your ears? I don't know. My ears have taken a lot of abuse, okay? I've had abuse to my ears. Maybe they don't sound, why would they like that? I don't, look, it is what it is. I must not be the only one with weird ears. I feel like... Awfully tensiony. Let's lighten it up, man. What are you playing in Locrian for crying out loud? What is... Okay. I'll continue with that tomorrow, man.